Kevin had always considered himself a rational man. As a xenoanthropologist stationed on the frontier world of Threshold 7, he'd cataloged over 40 alien species, documented their customs, and maintained his scientific objectivity through it all. So when the peculiar merchant approached him in the night market, Kevin should have walked away. Time, the creature rasped, its translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. You humans are always chasing it, yes? The merchant's stall materialized from the shadows between two fusion lampposts, cluttered with objects that seemed to shift when Kevin wasn't looking directly at them. His hand moved instinctively toward the chronometer on his wrist, a gift from his late father, broken for 3 years now. I have something better, the merchant said, producing a watch that gleamed with impossible colors. This doesn't just measure time, it understands it. Kevin knew better than to purchase unregistered tech from unlicensed vendors. The Galactic Trade Commission had entire divisions dedicated to confiscating temporal anomalies. Yet something about the watch called to him, a whisper in the back of his mind that sounded like destiny. How much? He heard himself ask, one memory. Nothing important, perhaps. Your first taste of Earth coffee? It seemed harmless enough. Kevin agreed, and the moment his fingers touched the watch, the memory dissolved like sugar in water. The merchant vanished, stall and all, leaving Kevin alone with his purchase. The watch fit perfectly on his wrist, its face displaying not just time, but strange symbols that rearranged themselves when he focused on them. Kevin returned to his HAB unit, chalking the encounter up to the peculiar nature of frontier commerce. At precisely midnight, the watch spoke. The voice was neither male nor female, human nor alien. It simply was. A statement of fact delivered directly into Kevin's consciousness. Your bride lands in 3 minutes. Kevin jerked upright in his sleep pod, heart hammering. What? I don't have a... But the watch was already counting down. 2:47, 2:46, 2:45. He pulled on his jacket and stumbled outside, drawn by a compulsion he couldn't explain. The landing pad sat quiet under Threshold 7's 3 moons. No scheduled arrivals for another week. Colony protocol dictated that unannounced ships were either military or trouble, often both. At 1:23, the sky split open, not with fire or thunder, but with a sound like reality sighing. A small craft descended, its hull marked with symbols Kevin recognized as human, but from no fleet he'd ever studied. The design was wrong, too advanced, incorporating technology that wouldn't exist for another century. The hatch opened. A figure emerged and Kevin's breath caught. She was human, unmistakably so, with dark hair that floated around her face as if suspended in water. Her eyes, striking and impossibly ancient, fixed on him immediately. She wore no environmental suit despite Threshold 7's toxic atmosphere, yet breathed as easily as if standing on Earth. Kevin? Her voice carried across the distance, clear despite the whistling wind. I'm Hayal. We're supposed to meet now. The timeline requires it. Timeline. Kevin's scientific mind grasped for understanding. You're a time traveler? Hale descended from her ship, her boots making no sound on the metal landing pad. Not exactly. I'm from a parallel probability stream, one where humanity made different choices. She glanced at his wrist. I see you met Zelmoth. The merchant, you know him? Iden, yes. Zelmoth deals in convergence points, moments where multiple timelines intersect. This is one of them. Hayal stopped 3 feet away, studying him with those ageless eyes. In my reality, you never came to Threshold 7. You died in the Martian uprising of 2087. But I needed you alive, here, now. Kevin's mind reeled. Why? Because in 72 hours, a Vorkan dreadnought will arrive in this system. They'll demand Threshold 7's surrender. And when the colony refuses, they'll glass the entire planet. 3,000 human souls gone. The incident will trigger the Third Galactic War. The watch pulsed against Kevin's skin, confirming her words with its impossible certainty. In my timeline, Hayal continued, that war lasted 90 years. Humanity lost. We were reduced to scattered refugees, our homeworld a memory. But we learned something the Vorkans didn't expect. Humans are exceptionally good at time manipulation when desperate enough. She stepped closer, and Kevin could see the weight of centuries in her expression, the burden of a future that had already happened in another reality. I've been traveling backward, finding convergence points, making small changes. You're the final piece. You have something I need. Knowledge of Vorkan ritual psychology. In your research, you documented the right of equal combat. Kievan nodded slowly. The Vorkans, for all their military might, adhered to ancient codes of honor. If challenged properly, they were bound by law to accept single combat instead of mass destruction. You can't possibly think, not me, Heil said, a fierce smile crossing her face. Humanity doesn't need a savior. We need a strategist. He'll teach the colony commander the precise words, the exact gestures. When the Vorkans arrive, we'll challenge them. We'll win. And this timeline will diverge from mine. We'll become something better. The watch chimed softly. Hale extended her hand. So, Kievan of Earth, xenoanthropologist and now timeline guardian, will you help me save 3,000 lives and prevent a war? Kievan looked at her hand, at the watch that had somehow known, at the impossible woman from a broken future who carried hope like a weapon. He thought about his father's words. Science is observing what is. Courage is creating what should be. He took her hand. Tell me everything. As their fingers intertwined, the watch displayed new symbols, not a countdown this time, but a promise. Somewhere in the multiverse, a merchant smiled, adding another successful convergence to its collection. Humanity, it seemed, had a habit of defying the odds. Even time itself couldn't quite predict what they'd do next. The end.